A 5-year-old boy stands in a Florentine workshop, watching his father mix pigments. The smell of linseed oil fills his lungs. Dust from ground minerals coats his small hands. He doesn't know it yet, but he's absorbing the technical foundations that will help him paint the ceiling every human being on Earth will one day recognize. His name is Michelangelo Buonarroti, and this moment in 1480 is just the beginning of a life so extraordinary that we're still trying to understand how one person accomplished so much. The story starts earlier though, before the workshops, before the marble dust, before the ceiling that would take 4 years lying on his back to complete. It starts with a family that didn't want him to be an artist at all. March 6th, 1475. The village of Caprese sits in the mountains between Florence and Arezzo, a forgettable place where nothing important ever happens. Lodovico Buonarroti serves as the local magistrate, a minor government position that pays poorly but carries the dignity his family desperately clings to. The Buonarroti claim noble blood, though their bank accounts tell a different story. They have the name, the pride, the family crest. What they don't have is money. Lodovico's wife Francesca gives birth to their second son in a stone house that still stands today, though it's been rebuilt so many times that almost nothing original remains. They name him Michelangelo, after the archangel Michael. It's an ambitious name for a baby born into a family sliding toward poverty, a name that suggests battles and divine purpose. Within months, Lodovico's term as magistrate ends. The family returns to Florence, to a city exploding with artistic energy that Michelangelo is too young to notice. But there's a problem. Francesca is sick, unable to nurse her infant son. The family makes a decision that will shape everything that follows. They send the baby to Settignano, a village in the hills outside Florence where stonecutters live and work. Michelangelo's wet nurse is married to a stonecutter. Her husband carves building blocks from the local quarries. Their home smells of marble dust. The sound of chisels on stone provides the rhythm of daily life. This is where Michelangelo spends his first years, not in a noble household or a merchant's palazzo, but among workmen who turn raw stone into something useful. Decades later, Michelangelo would joke that he sucked in chisels and hammers with his nurse's milk. It wasn't entirely a joke. The physical memory of those early years, the constant presence of stone, and the men who worked it, embedded itself in ways that shaped his hands and mind. When Francesca dies in 1481, Michelangelo is 6 years old. His father remarries quickly, as men did then, but something has already been set in motion. The boy doesn't want to study Latin grammar or learn accounting. He wants to draw. Lodovico is horrified. Artists are craftsmen, manual labourers who work with their hands. The Buonarroti family might be poor, but they descend from nobility. Nobles don't swing hammers or mix paint. They hold government positions, manage estates, maintain dignity, even when they can't afford new clothes. Lodovico beats his son for drawing. The beatings don't work. What does an ambitious boy do in 1480s Florence when his family blocks the path he wants to take? He finds another family. Michelangelo befriends Francesco Granacci, a slightly older boy already apprenticed to one of Florence's successful painting workshops. Granacci sees something in this intense kid who won't stop drawing despite his father's violence. He introduces Michelangelo to his master, Domenico Ghirlandaio. Ghirlandaio runs one of the busiest workshops in Florence. He's not the most innovative painter, but he's reliable, fast, and his frescoes fill churches across the city. His workshop trains apprentices in the traditional method, copying the master's drawings, grinding pigments, preparing walls for frescoes, gradually working up to painting minor elements under supervision. It's a system that's been producing competent artists for generations. In 1488, when Michelangelo is 13, Lodovico finally accepts reality. His son will not become a government official or a merchant. the boy is going to be an artist whether his father approves or not. Lodovico negotiates an unusual contract with Ghirlandaio. Most families pay masters to train their sons. Ghirlandaio will pay Michelangelo a small salary. It's a recognition that this apprentice brings unusual talent to the workshop. Michelangelo learns the technical foundations of fresco painting, how to prepare intonaco, the final layer of wet plaster that must be painted before it dries, how to transfer drawings to walls using cartoons, large patterns pricked with holes through which charcoal dust is pressed, how to mix pigments with water and lime, creating colours that will last centuries. The chemistry of art, the physics of materials, the geometric principles of perspective. He absorbs it all with frightening speed. But painting isn't enough. The boy is obsessed with something else. Lorenzo de' Medici, called the Magnificent, rules Florence without ruling it officially. He's not a duke or a prince. He's technically just a wealthy banker. But everyone understands that Lorenzo's word is law, that his patronage makes or breaks careers, that the cultural glory of Florence flows from his family's wealth and taste. Lorenzo is creating something unprecedented, a sculpture school in the Medici Gardens. The school is Lorenzo's response to a problem. Florence has extraordinary painters, but sculpture, the art form ancient Rome mastered, has languished. Lorenzo wants to revive it. He's established a garden near his palace where promising students can study the Medici collection of ancient Roman sculptures, learning directly from masterpieces that survived the fall of empire. The sculptor Bertoldo di Giovanni, a student of the great Donatello, supervises the students. Ghirlandaio is asked to recommend promising boys for Lorenzo's school. He chooses two, Granacci and Michelangelo. This is 1489. Michelangelo is 14 years old. He's been in Ghirlandaio's workshop for less than a year, barely started his apprenticeship as a painter. Now he's walking into the Medici Gardens, where some of the greatest art objects in Europe sit waiting to be studied. The garden is full of fragments, torsos without heads, heads without bodies, arms and legs broken off statues that once stood in Roman forums. To most people, these are just old stones. To Michelangelo, they're a language he's desperate to learn. He studies how ancient sculptors carved muscle and bone, how they made cold marble suggest warm flesh, how they captured motion in stillness. He copies them obsessively. Then he attempts something audacious. Among the sculptures in the garden is an ancient head of a faun, a mythological creature that's half man, half goat. Michelangelo decides to carve his own version. He works in marble, which is unusual for a beginner. Most students start with softer stone, working up to marble after years of practice. Michelangelo goes straight to the difficult material. Lorenzo walks through the garden one day and stops in front of the boy carving a faun's head. The sculpture is remarkable for a 14-year-old, but Lorenzo notices something. Michelangelo has carved the faun with a complete set of perfect teeth. Lorenzo points this out. Old creatures, he says, would have missing teeth, worn teeth, gaps in their smile. It's a small criticism, a detail. Michelangelo waits until Lorenzo leaves. Then he breaks off one of the faun's teeth and carves the others to look ancient and worn. He makes the mouth anatomically correct for an aged creature. When Lorenzo returns and sees what the boy has done, taking criticism and immediately improving the work, he makes a decision that changes everything. Lorenzo invites Michelangelo to live in the Medici palace, not as a servant, as a member of the household. The teenage son of an impoverished family with pretensions of nobility is suddenly dining with the most powerful family in Italy, sleeping in rooms decorated by the finest artists of the age, surrounded by philosophers, poets, and scholars who gather at Lorenzo's table. It's as if a kid from a struggling family in a small town suddenly moved into the White House and was treated like one of the president's own children. Lodovico doesn't know whether to be proud or horrified. His son is living with the Medici, which is an extraordinary honour. But he's living with them as an artist, which confirms the family shame. Lorenzo eases the sting by giving Lodovico a minor government position. It's a sinecure, a job that requires little work but provides steady income. Lorenzo is taking care of the whole family, securing Michelangelo's position by making sure his father has no financial reason to drag the boy home. The Medici Palace becomes Michelangelo's university. At dinner, he listens to discussions of Plato and Aristotle. The Neoplatonic philosopher Marsilio Ficino is a regular guest, explaining how ancient Greek philosophy can be reconciled with Christianity. The poet Angelo Poliziano quotes Dante and Virgil, discussing the structure of epic poetry. Lorenzo's son Giovanni, who will become Pope Leo X, sits at the same table. So does his other son Giuliano. And Giulio, Lorenzo's nephew, who will become Pope Clement VII. Michelangelo is absorbing more than art technique. He's learning how power works, how culture and politics interweave, how a family maintains influence across generations. But he's still carving. In the Medici sculpture garden, he produces a relief carving called the Battle of the Centaurs. The subject comes from Greek mythology, centaurs fighting human warriors at a wedding feast. It's a mass of struggling bodies, twisted poses, violence frozen in stone. The composition is chaotic, packed with figures that overlap and interlock. For a teenage sculptor, it's absurdly ambitious. Most of the figures are barely sketched, the marble rough and unfinished in places, but the parts Michelangelo completed show an understanding of human anatomy that shouldn't be possible for someone his age. He's also studying cadavers. This is 1492. Michelangelo is 17, and he's sneaking into the morgue of the Santo Spirito monastery, where the prior allows him to dissect corpses in exchange for a wooden crucifix Michelangelo carves for the church. The dissections are illegal. The church officially forbids cutting up human bodies. But Michelangelo needs to understand what's under the skin, how muscles attach to bones, how tendons work, how the body moves and twists and bears weight. He's not content to copy what he sees on the surface. He needs to know the machinery underneath. The smell is unbearable. Bodies in various stages of decay, opened and explored by a teenager with a knife, and an obsessive need to understand. He works by candlelight in a room that reeks of death. Years later, he'll claim the fumes damaged his health permanently. But he keeps cutting, keeps learning, keeps building a knowledge of anatomy that will allow him to carve and paint human bodies with a precision that seems supernatural. Then everything collapses. In April 1492, Lorenzo de' Medici dies. He's only 43, but he's been sick for months. His death removes the stable centre of Florentine politics. His son Piero inherits the family's position, but Piero lacks his father's political genius. He's arrogant where Lorenzo was diplomatic, rigid where his father was flexible. The careful balance Lorenzo maintained begins to crack. Michelangelo stays in the Medici Palace for 2 more years, but the atmosphere has changed. Piero treats him like a servant rather than an honoured guest. At one point, Piero orders Michelangelo to build a snowman in the courtyard after a rare Florentine snowfall. It's meant as a joke, but it's also a humiliation. The teenager who Lorenzo treated as a young genius is now making temporary sculptures from snow for Piero's amusement. The political situation worsens. A Dominican friar named Girolamo Savonarola is preaching apocalyptic sermons in Florence, warning that God will punish the city for its luxury and corruption. Crowds gather to hear him prophesy doom. His influence grows. The Medici family, with their wealth and their patronage of secular art and pagan philosophy, becomes his obvious target. In 1494, King Charles VIII of France invades Italy with an army heading toward Naples. Piero de' Medici panics and makes concessions that infuriate Florence. The city rises against the Medici. Piero, his brothers, and his supporters flee. The Medici Palace is looted. The sculpture garden, where Michelangelo learned his craft, is destroyed. A republic is established with Savonarola as its spiritual guide. Michelangelo is 19 years old. His patron is gone, his position evaporated, his adopted family scattered. The city is in chaos, and a preacher is calling for the burning of vanities, demanding that Florentines destroy their secular art and books and luxuries to purify themselves before God's judgment. Michelangelo sees the writing on the wall. Florence is about to become a very dangerous place for artists who spent years in the Medici household, learning to carve pagan gods and naked heroes. He leaves. He doesn't announce it, doesn't ask permission. He just packs whatever he can carry and walks out of the city toward Venice. It's October 1494. He's 19, and everything he's built is gone. The journey takes weeks. He travels with 2 companions, other young men fleeing the chaos. They have almost no money. They sleep in cheap inns and sometimes outdoors. Venice doesn't welcome them. The city is wealthy and sophisticated, but it already has its own artists and its own systems of patronage. Michelangelo finds no work, no interest, no opportunity. After a few weeks of wandering and waiting, he moves again, this time to Bologna. Bologna is different. It's a university city, more conservative than Florence but stable. Michelangelo finds a patron, a minor nobleman named Gianfrancesco Aldovrandi, who needs someone to finish a project. The Basilica of San Domenico has a shrine to Saint Dominic that's been under construction for decades. Several sculptors have worked on it. One has died, leaving 3 small figures unfinished: an angel holding a candlestick, a kneeling Saint Petronius, and a kneeling Saint Proculus. They're minor works. Each figure is less than 2 feet tall. They'll be placed high on the shrine, where most visitors will barely notice them. But Michelangelo needs the work, and he accepts. He spends a year in Bologna carving these 3 small figures, and even here, at 19, working on someone else's abandoned project, his ability is obvious. The angel he carves is more dynamic than anything else on the shrine. The drapery moves, the figure seems caught in motion rather than frozen in stone. The saints have a weight and presence that the earlier sculptures lack, but it's not enough work to build a career on. Bologna has its own guild system, its own established sculptors who don't appreciate an outsider taking commissions. After a year, Michelangelo returns to Florence. The city has changed. Savonarola's power has grown. He's essentially running Florence now, turning it into a theocratic republic. His followers patrol the streets looking for signs of immorality. They organize bonfires of the vanities where Florentines are encouraged to burn their secular books, their paintings, their musical instruments, their fancy clothes, anything that might distract from religious devotion. Michelangelo keeps his head down. He carves a young Saint John the Baptist, a safe subject. He carves a sleeping Cupid, not safe at all, but small enough to keep private. Then someone suggests a scheme. The Cupid is good, very good. What if they aged it artificially, buried it for a while, then sold it as an ancient Roman sculpture? Collectors pay enormous sums for genuine antiquities. A fake, if it's convincing enough, could be worth serious money. Michelangelo agrees. Whether he needs the money or simply wants to prove he can fool the experts, he treats the marble to make it look old. The sculpture is buried, then dug up, then sold to a dealer who sells it to Cardinal Raffaele Riario in Rome. The cardinal pays 200 ducats, a substantial sum. Michelangelo receives 30. The dealer keeps the rest, but Riario is not an idiot. He's a serious collector with access to genuine experts. Someone examines the Cupid closely and recognizes it's modern. The cardinal is furious. He's been cheated. He demands to know who carved it. When he learns the truth, his anger shifts to curiosity. The sculptor who fooled him is 20 years old and living in Florence. The cardinal writes a letter. He invites Michelangelo to Rome. This is the break. Rome in 1496 is the centre of Christian Europe, and it's simultaneously the world's largest construction site. Pope Alexander VI, the Borgia Pope, is ruthless and corrupt and determined to make Rome magnificent again. Wealthy cardinals are competing to build the grandest palaces and chapels. Ancient ruins are everywhere, providing both inspiration and raw material. Marble from fallen Roman temples is being recycled into new Christian monuments. Michelangelo arrives in June. Cardinal Riario receives him politely, but doesn't immediately offer work. The cardinal is still annoyed about the fake Cupid. Michelangelo spends months in Rome, looking, studying, absorbing. He sees ancient sculptures that Florence doesn't have. He sees the scale of Roman ambition, the massive projects underway, the money flowing through the papal court. Then another patron appears. Jacopo Galli is a Roman banker with intellectual pretensions and a genuine love of art. He sees Michelangelo's work and recognizes something rare. He commissions a Bacchus, the Roman god of wine. It's to be a life-size figure, larger than anything Michelangelo has attempted. The result is startling. The Bacchus is drunk. Not symbolically, not metaphorically, actually drunk. The god sways, his weight shifted uncertainly, his muscles soft, his expression dazed. He holds a cup in one hand and a bunch of grapes in the other. Behind him, a small salter eats the grapes, grinning. The whole sculpture seems about to topple. It's technically brilliant and slightly disturbing. This is not the noble idealization of classical sculpture. This is a god as a human being with a drinking problem. Galli loves it. More importantly, he talks about Michelangelo to other potential patrons. Word spreads. The young Florentine can carve. Then comes the commission that will change everything. The French Cardinal Jean de Villers-le-Grolas is planning his tomb. He's the French ambassador to the Holy See, which means he's important and wealthy. He wants a sculpture for his funeral monument. Something devotional, something that will be remembered. Through Galli's connections, he meets Michelangelo. They negotiate. The cardinal wants a Pietà, the image of Mary holding the dead Christ. It's a common subject in Northern European art, but rare in Italy. The cardinal specifies the size, the materials, the price. He'll pay 450 ducats. The sculpture must be the most beautiful work in marble that exists in Rome today. That's the contract language. The most beautiful work in Rome. Michelangelo is 23 years old and he accepts. He travels to Carrara to select the marble himself. Carrara is where the best marble comes from. The same quarries the Romans used. Michelangelo spends months there, climbing the mountains, inspecting blocks, choosing the perfect piece. The quarry workers think he's insane. Most sculptors send specifications and let the quarry select the stone. Michelangelo needs to see it, touch it, understand its grain and flaws before he'll commit. He finds what he needs. A massive block, flawless, the white marble so pure it seems to glow. He has it transported to Rome. Then he begins to carve. The Pietà takes nearly 2 years. Michelangelo works alone. He doesn't use assistants for the actual carving, only for the heavy labour of moving stone and preparing tools. Every cut is his. Every surface is finished by his hand. What emerges is something no one expected. Mary is young. That's the first shock. She's usually depicted as an older woman, aged by grief and the years since Christ's birth. Michelangelo's Mary looks barely older than her son. She sits with Christ's body across her lap, one hand supporting him, the other extended in a gesture that's both presenting him to the viewer and expressing helpless sorrow. Christ is dead weight, his body slack, his head fallen back. The anatomy is perfect. Every muscle, every vein, every bone structure is exactly correct. But it's Mary's face that destroys people. She's not screaming. She's not crying. She's beyond that. Her expression is resignation, acceptance, a grief so deep it's become silence. She looks down at her son with a sadness that seems to contain the entire human experience of loss. And she's beautiful, impossibly, controversially beautiful. Her drapery flows in elaborate folds that Michelangelo has polished until the marble looks like fabric. Her hands are delicate. Her features are refined. She's a teenage girl holding the body of a grown man. And somehow the proportions work. Somehow the impossible composition becomes inevitable. The sculpture is installed in the Cardinal's Chapel in Old St. Peter's Basilica in 1499. The reaction is immediate. Crowds gather. People weep. Word spreads through Rome that something extraordinary has appeared. Artists come to study it. Pilgrims come to pray before it. The French cardinal dies the same year, but his tomb monument has already achieved what he wanted. It's the most talked about sculpture in Rome. Michelangelo hears a rumour that troubles him. People are saying the Pietà is too good to be the work of a young Florentine. They're attributing it to other sculptors, older men with established reputations. One night, Michelangelo goes to the chapel alone. He brings his tools. He climbs up to the sculpture and carves his name across the sash that runs diagonally across Mary's chest. Michelangelus Buonarrotus Florent Facibat, Michelangelo Buonarroti Florentine made this. It's the only work he ever signs. Later, he'll regret the pride that made him do it. But at 24, watching his greatest achievement being credited to others, he can't help himself. He needs the world to know this is his. The Pietà makes Michelangelo famous, not locally famous, not promising young artist famous, actually famous. Across Italy, people are talking about the Florentine who carved grief itself into marble. The commissions that follow will test whether he can repeat the miracle. In 1501, Michelangelo returns to Florence. The city has changed again. Savonarola is dead, burned at the stake 2 years earlier after his apocalyptic prophecies failed to materialize, and his political enemies moved against him. The republic he created survives, but the religious fervour has cooled. Florence is rebuilding, trying to reclaim its position as a centre of art and learning. The Opera del Duomo, the organisation responsible for the cathedral, has a problem. For 40 years, an enormous block of marble has been sitting in the cathedral workshop. It's 18 feet tall and weighs over 6 tons. 2 previous sculptors have tried to carve it into a figure. Both abandoned the attempt. The stone has been cut badly. There's a deep gouge in the front. The proportions are wrong. Most sculptors consider it ruined, useful only for cutting into smaller pieces. The opera wants to salvage something from this expensive disaster. They're considering various artists for the commission. Michelangelo sees the block and sees David. Not the boy David, not the David with Goliath's head at his feet. David before the fight. David at the moment of decision, standing with his sling, staring across the valley at the giant he's about to face. He submits a proposal. He'll carve the entire figure from this damaged stone. He'll work on site in the cathedral workshop. He'll transform this 40-year-old failure into something Florence will be proud of. The Opera del Duomo agrees, probably because no one else wants to touch the ruined marble. They offer him a generous contract. 35 florins per month for 2 years, with an extension if needed. Michelangelo begins in September. He builds a wooden scaffold around the marble to work in private. No one will see the sculpture until it's finished. This is unusual. Most major commissions are created in open workshops, where patrons and curious observers can watch progress. Michelangelo works behind screens, alone with the stone. What he's attempting is almost impossible. The block is tall but narrow. Every previous sculptor who examined it concluded that the proportions were wrong for a standing figure. There isn't enough width in the marble to create a heroic statue in traditional contrapposto pose. Michelangelo doesn't care about traditional poses. He plans something no one expects. He starts at the feet and works upward. This is the opposite of how most sculptors approach marble. The conventional method is to rough out the entire figure first, then refine the details. But Michelangelo finishes each section completely before moving to the next. It's slower. It's riskier. If he makes a mistake in the proportions, he can't adjust what he's already carved. But it also means he's never working on stone he's uncertain about. Every blow of the chisel is final. The feet emerge first, then the legs, the torso, the shoulders, the head. Each part is carved with such precision that when he finally removes the scaffolding, the proportions are perfect despite the impossible constraints of the marble. David stands with his weight on his right leg, his left leg relaxed. His right hand hangs by his side. His left hand, enormous and powerful, holds the sling over his shoulder. His head is turned to the left, watching something in the distance. His brow is furrowed. His eyes are focused. This is not a boy. This is a young man, fully grown, in complete control of himself. The body is anatomically perfect. Every muscle is exactly where it should be. The veins in the hands are visible beneath the skin. The ligaments in the neck are taut, but it's the expressio, and that matters most. David is thinking, he's calculating, he's measuring the distance to his target. He's confident, but not yet victorious. This is the moment before action. The pause before the stone leaves the sling. Michelangelo works for over 2 years. By January 1504, the sculpture is nearly complete. Word has spread throughout Florence that something extraordinary is happening behind those wooden screens. When the Opera del Duomo finally assembles a committee to view the finished work and decide where to place it, the group includes the most important artists and architects in Florence. Leonardo da Vinci is there, Sandro Botticelli, Filippino Lippi, Giuliano da Sangallo. They gather in the cathedral workshop on a January morning. The scaffolding comes down. The David is revealed. The silence lasts several seconds. Then everyone starts talking at once. The original plan had been to place the sculpture high on the cathedral roof, one of several prophets and biblical figures that would decorate the building's exterior. That plan is immediately abandoned. This sculpture cannot go on a roof, where it will barely be visible. It needs to be at ground level, where people can see it properly. The committee spends weeks debating the location. Leonardo argues for placing it in the Loggia dei Lanzi, the covered arcade in the Piazza della Signoria, where it will be protected from weather. Others want it in the courtyard of the Palazzo Vecchio, the seat of Florence's government. Michelangelo himself wants it at the cathedral entrance. The final decision is political as much as artistic. The Republic places the David in front of the Palazzo Vecchio, the building where the city council meets. It's a statement. Florence is David. Florence is the small republic that stands against giants. Florence is courage and virtue and republican liberty. The symbolism is obvious and intentional. Moving the sculpture from the cathedral workshop to the Piazza della Signoria takes 4 days. They build a wooden cage around the marble to protect it. 40 men use wooden rollers to transport it through the streets. The entire city watches. At night, someone throws stones at the sculpture. Guards are posted. On June 8th, 1504, David is finally positioned on the platform in front of the Palazzo Vecchio. The wooden cage is removed. Florence sees its new symbol. Michelangelo is 29 years old. He has created the most famous sculpture since antiquity. His reputation is now untouchable. But reputation doesn't pay for marble or rent or food. He needs another commission, and the one that arrives next will consume the next 40 years of his life and nearly destroy him. Pope Julius II is elected in October 1503, just as Michelangelo is finishing David. Julius is the opposite of his predecessor. Alexander VI, the Borgia Pope, had been corrupt, political, obsessed with enriching his family. Julius is a warrior. He leads armies personally. He wears armour. He's determined to restore the power and prestige of the papacy by force if necessary. He's also obsessed with leaving a legacy. He wants monuments. He wants buildings. He wants art that will last forever. In 1505, Julius summons Michelangelo to Rome. The Pope has a proposal. He wants a tomb, not a modest wall monument, a freestanding structure, 40 feet tall, covered with over 40 life-sized marble figures. It will be the grandest tomb ever constructed. It will sit inside St. Peter's Basilica, the most important church in Christendom, and Michelangelo will design and carve the entire thing. The scale is insane. The tomb Julius describes would take a team of sculptors decades to complete. Michelangelo is being asked to do it essentially alone. He should refuse. He should explain that the project is impossible. Instead, he agrees immediately. This is the commission he's been waiting for, a project worthy of his abilities, something that will cement his reputation forever. He spends 8 months in Carrara selecting marble. He chooses every block personally, walking through the quarries in the mountains above the city. He's looking for stone without flaws, marble white enough to take fine detail. He orders over 100 tons of it. The marble is cut, loaded onto ships, transported to Rome, and delivered to the square in front of St. Peter's. Michelangelo rents a house with a workshop large enough to store the blocks. He begins making models for the figures, then Julius changes his mind. The architect Donato Bramante has convinced the Pope to rebuild St. Peter's entirely. The old Basilica, which has stood for over 1,000 years, will be torn down. A new church grander than anything in the world will rise in its place. This will be Julius's true monument. The tomb project is postponed. Michelangelo is furious. He's spent months selecting marble. He's committed to the vision. He's already begun planning the figures. Julius promises the tomb will happen eventually, after the new basilica is built. But eventually means nothing. Michelangelo knows how these delays work. Eventually becomes never. He confronts Julius. The meeting goes badly. Julius is used to obedience. Michelangelo is used to being indispensable. When the Pope dismisses his concerns, Michelangelo does something almost no one does. He leaves Rome. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't wait to be dismissed. He simply packs his belongings and rides back to Florence. Julius is outraged. He sends 5 horsemen after Michelangelo with orders to bring him back to Rome. They catch up to him in Poggibonsi, a small town halfway to Florence. Michelangelo refuses to return. He sends a message to Julius. If His Holiness wants him, he knows where to find him. This is extraordinarily dangerous. Popes excommunicate people for less. Julius could destroy Michelangelo's career with a single decree. But Julius is also practical. He needs Michelangelo more than Michelangelo needs him. Bramante is a gifted architect, but he's not a sculptor. The figures Julius wants for his projects require someone with Michelangelo's skill. After 3 months of tension, Julius sends an intermediary. The Pope will forgive Michelangelo's insolence if he returns to Rome. Not to work on the tomb, which is still postponed, to work on something else. Julius wants the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel painted. Michelangelo hates this idea. He's a sculptor, not a painter. He's barely touched a brush since his apprenticeship in Ghirlandaio's workshop 15 years earlier. The ceiling is enormous, over 5,000 square feet of curved vault. It's been painted before by Pier Matteo de Melia, who covered it with a simple, starry sky. Julius wants something better, something worthy of the chapel where conclaves elect popes, Michelangelo argues. He tells Julius he's not qualified. He suggests other artists who specialise in fresco. He offers to recommend someone better suited. Julius doesn't care. He wants Michelangelo. The pressure increases. The Pope's representatives in Florence make it clear that refusing is not an option. If Michelangelo wants to work in Italy, if he wants papal favour, if he wants his career to continue, he'll accept the commission. In 1508, Michelangelo returns to Rome and agrees to paint the ceiling. He resents every aspect of the situation. He believes Bramante convinced Julius to offer him this commission, specifically to humiliate him. Bramante knows Michelangelo is a sculptor. Making him paint will expose his weaknesses. It's a trap, but there's no way out. Michelangelo begins planning the work. Julius wants 12 apostles painted in the curved sections of the ceiling, with decorative elements filling the rest of the space. It's a conventional scheme, respectable but uninspired. Michelangelo looks at the ceiling and sees something else. He proposes a complete redesign. Instead of 12 apostles, he'll paint the entire narrative of Genesis, the creation of the world, the creation of humanity, the fall, the flood. 9 central panels running down the length of the ceiling, surrounded by prophets and sibyls, the ancestors of Christ, and dozens of smaller figures, over 300 figures total. It's not decoration. It's theology made visible, the story of humanity from creation to the moment before Christ's arrival. Julius surprisingly agrees. Perhaps he recognizes that Michelangelo's vision is more ambitious than his own. Perhaps he simply trusts the artist's judgment. Either way, the project expands from a standard commission into something unprecedented. Michelangelo begins in May 1508. The technical challenges are immediate and overwhelming. Frescoes painted on wet plaster. Once the plaster dries, you can't change anything. Every section has to be planned precisely. You mix your pigments, apply them while the plaster is still damp, and the chemical reaction between the pigments and the plaster creates permanent colour as it dries. There's no room for error. If you make a mistake, you have to chip away the entire section and start over. Michelangelo has painted fresco before, but nothing at this scale. The ceiling is 68 feet above the floor. He designs a scaffolding system that bridges the chapel without touching the floor, supported by brackets inserted into holes in the walls. It's ingenious but uncomfortable. He paints standing up, his head tilted back, paint dripping into his eyes, his neck and back in constant pain. The first figures he paints are stiff. He's working out the technique as he goes. The flood scene, which he completes early in the project, is crowded with figures but lacks the power of his later work. After a year, he dismisses the assistants he'd hired to help with the preparatory work. They're mixing plaster. They're not painting. He'll do everything himself. This decision transforms the project from difficult to nearly impossible. He's painting 5,000 square feet of ceiling alone. Every figure, every detail, every background element is his work. The physical toll is brutal. He develops chronic neck pain that will last the rest of his life. His vision deteriorates from staring upward for hours. He writes a sonnet to a friend, describing how the work is destroying his body. His beard points to heaven. His chest is curved like a harpy's. His face is stretched. Paint drips onto it constantly. But the ceiling is becoming something extraordinary. The later figures are more dynamic than the early ones. He's learning as he works, growing more confident with the medium. The creation of Adam, painted near the end of the project, is the most famous image on the ceiling. God and Adam reach toward each other, their fingers almost touching. God is surrounded by angels, swept forward in flowing drapery. Adam reclines on the ground, his body perfect but lifeless until the divine spark reaches him. The gap between their fingers is maybe 2 inches. It contains everything: the moment before life, the distance between human and divine, the possibility of connection. Michelangelo paints for 4 years. Julius grows impatient. He visits the chapel constantly, demanding to know when the work will be finished. Michelangelo refuses to give him a definite answer. It will be finished when it's finished. In October 1512, Julius orders the scaffolding removed. He wants to see what he's paid for. The chapel is unveiled. Rome sees the ceiling. The response is immediate and overwhelming. This is not just the finest fresco ever painted, it's the finest thing anyone has painted. Period. The ceiling establishes Michelangelo as the greatest artist alive, but Julius wants more. He commissions a tomb again, this one scaled down from the original nightmare. Michelangelo begins carving. Then Julius dies in 1513. The new pope is Leo X, a Medici, Giovanni de' Medici, second son of Lorenzo the Magnificent, the boy who grew up in the household where Michelangelo lived as a teenager. They know each other. Leo remembers the sculptor who carved the snowman, who studied alongside him. He wants to bring Michelangelo back to Florence, not to serve the Medici directly, to serve the family church. San Lorenzo is the Medici parish church. It needs a facade. The current front is bare brick, unfinished for 2 centuries. Leo wants it completed. He wants it to be magnificent. A statement in marble that announces Medici power and Medici taste. Michelangelo is the obvious choice. He's reluctant. The tomb for Julius is unfinished. The heirs are already complaining. They've paid money. They want what they paid for. But Leo is Pope. You don't say no to the Pope, especially not when the Pope is a Medici and you grew up eating at his father's table. Michelangelo travels to Carrara to select marble. He spends months in the quarries, choosing blocks, supervising extraction. The facade design grows increasingly elaborate. Statues, reliefs, architectural elements. It becomes less a building front and more a sculptural program. Then the project collapses. Leo changes his mind. The money isn't there, or the priorities shift, or someone whispers in his ear. Whatever the reason, in 1520, the commission is cancelled. Michelangelo has spent 3 years on a project that will never be built. He's bitter. He's 55 years old. He's spent his entire career being jerked around by popes. Promises made, promises broken. Contracts signed, contracts ignored. He writes angry letters. Nobody cares. But Leo isn't done with him. There's another project. The Medici want a family chapel at San Lorenzo, a proper burial place for Lorenzo the Magnificent and his brother Giuliano, for Leo's brother Giuliano and his nephew Lorenzo, for the family that now rules Florence again after their long exile. The new sacristy, as it's called, will mirror Brunelleschi's old sacristy at the other end of the church. Same dimensions, similar architectural vocabulary. But Michelangelo will fill it with tombs, sculpture integrated with architecture in a way that's never been attempted. He begins in 1520. Leo dies in 1521. The next pope, Adrian VI, has no interest in art. He lasts 2 years. Then another Medici becomes pope, Clement VII, Giulio de' Medici, another boy from Lorenzo's household, another childhood acquaintance of Michelangelo's. The pattern repeats. Work on the chapel proceeds, but slowly. Other projects interfere. Clement wants fortifications for Florence. He wants a library at San Lorenzo. He wants architectural plans. He wants drawings. He wants everything except to let Michelangelo focus on one thing. The tombs take shape gradually. 2 walls, 2 monuments, one for Lorenzo de' Medici, Duke of Urbino, one for Giuliano de' Medici, Duke of Nemours. Neither man was particularly distinguished. Lorenzo was violent and incompetent. Giuliano was charming but ineffectual. They don't deserve monuments, but they were Medici, and that's what matters. Michelangelo creates idealized figures. Lorenzo sits in contemplation, his face shadowed by his helmet, withdrawn into thought. Below him recline 2 allegorical figures, dawn and dusk. Both are female, both are powerful, both are awakening or fading into sleep. Giuliano sits alert, his face turned, his posture active. Below him are day and night. Day is male, unfinished, his face rough from the chisel. Night is female, sleeping, perfect in every detail. She holds a mask and a bundle of poppies, symbols of dreams. These aren't portraits, they're ideas, time passing, human life bounded by darkness. The figures are impossibly muscular. Night has the build of a male athlete. The anatomy is exaggerated, expressive rather than realistic. This is what Michelangelo learned from the Sistine ceiling. The body can be pushed beyond naturalism to express something naturalism can't reach. Between the tombs, opposite them, he plans a double tomb for Lorenzo the Magnificent and his brother. It's never completed, only one sculpture is finished. The Madonna and Child. Mary sits, the infant Christ standing on her lap, turning away, looking elsewhere. Mary's gaze is distant. She's not looking at the child. She's looking through him, past him, towards something we can't see. Work continues through the 1520s, but Florence is unstable. The Medici rule is resented. Republican sentiment is strong. In 1527, Rome is sacked by imperial troops. Clement VII is trapped in Castel Sant'Angelo for months. Florence sees an opportunity. They expel the Medici again. The Republic is restored. Michelangelo is in an impossible position. He's been working for the Medici. He's been paid by the Medici, but he's also a Republican by conviction. He's always been a Republican. His father told him about Savonarola. He remembers the Republic of his youth. Now he has to choose. He chooses Florence. He joins the Republican government. They appoint him to oversee the city's fortifications. Florence is expecting a siege. The Pope wants his family back in power. The Emperor Charles V will help him. Florence has to prepare. Michelangelo spends 1529 designing defences. Bastions, walls, artillery positions. He travels to Ferrara to study their fortifications, considered the most advanced in Italy. He applies what he learns. Some of his designs are built, some aren't. The city is divided, nobody trusts anybody. The siege begins in October 1529. Imperial and papal troops surround Florence. The city holds. Months pass. Food runs low, disease spreads. The defenders are exhausted. Michelangelo, expecting the worst, flees the city in September 1530. He hides in Venice. He's declared a traitor by the Republican government. Florence surrenders in August 1530. The Medici return. Clement VII pardons Michelangelo. Officially, publicly. But the message is clear. Get back to work. Finish the chapel. Remember who pays you. Michelangelo returns. He completes what he can. The tombs are installed. The Madonna is placed, but the chapel is never truly finished according to his original plan. There should be more figures, more sculptures. The architecture should be richer. But time has run out. Money has run out. Patience has run out. He leaves Florence in 1534. He's 59. He will never return. The city of his birth, the city he defended, the city that shaped him. He walks away from it. Rome calls him back. Not for sculpture this time, for painting. One more fresco, the largest, most controversial work he'll ever create. The Sistine Chapel needs something new. The wall behind the altar is blank. Clement VII wants it painted. He dies before the work begins. Paul III becomes Pope in 1534. He wants the project to proceed. The subject is fixed. The Last Judgment. This is different from the ceiling. The ceiling was about creation, about the beginning of the world. This is about the end, Christ returning in glory, the dead rising from their graves, the saved ascending to heaven, the damned dragged down to hell. It's the ultimate subject. Everything ends here. Michelangelo begins in 1536. He's 61 years old. He's painting fresco again. Same technique, same physical punishment, wet plaster, paint mixed fresh each day, work fast, get it right the first time. But his approach has changed. The ceiling figures were clothed mostly. They followed classical traditions. They were beautiful. This is different. The figures are naked, almost all of them. 400 figures covering the wall, muscular, writhing, desperate, bodies twisting in space, no clear ground, no perspective grid. Everything floats. Christ sits at the center, his arm raised. He's not the suffering Jesus of the crucifixion. He's the judge. Powerful, terrifying, final. His mother sits beside him, turning away, unable to watch the judgment. Saints surround them, martyrs holding the instruments of their torture. St. Bartholomew holds his own flayed skin. The face on the skin is Michelangelo's, a self-portrait as empty flesh. Below Christ, angels blow trumpets. The dead rise from the earth. Some cling to rosaries, hoping for salvation. Some are dragged down by demons. Charon, the ferryman from classical mythology, beats souls with his oar, forcing them into his boat. Minos, the judge of the underworld, waits below, a serpent wrapped around his body. It's not a Christian image exactly. It's something else. Classical mythology mixed with Christian theology. Dante mixed with Virgil. The damned aren't just sinners, they're figures from every tradition, every story, every nightmare. The nudity causes problems immediately. Before the fresco is even finished, complaints begin. Cardinals are uncomfortable. The naked bodies are too prominent, too sexual, too pagan. This is the wall behind the altar. The Pope celebrates Mass here. Can we really have naked figures displayed during the Eucharist? Michelangelo ignores them. He's too old to care about decorum. He's too famous to be controlled. He paints what he sees. Judgment is naked. You can't hide from it. You can't dress it up. Bodies are revealed as they are. The fresco is unveiled in October 1541. The reaction splits along predictable lines. Artists are amazed. The technical achievement is undeniable. The composition holds together despite the chaos. The figures are more expressive than anything Michelangelo has painted before. But the church is horrified. This isn't appropriate. This isn't decorous. This isn't what sacred art should look like. Pietro Aretino, a writer who had previously praised Michelangelo, publishes an open letter attacking the fresco. He calls it shameful. He calls it obscene. He suggests Michelangelo would be better suited to painting brothels. Michelangelo responds by painting Aretino into the fresco. He's Minos, the judge of hell, with donkey ears and the serpent wrapped around him. The face is clearly recognizable. It's a public insult in permanent paint. The controversy doesn't fade, it grows. Conservative forces in the church gain power. The Council of Trent, meeting in the 1540s and 50s, reforms Catholic practice. Art must serve theology clearly. It must instruct, it must edify, it must not distract or scandalize. The Last Judgment fails every test. In 1564, after Michelangelo's death, the church orders the nudity covered. Daniele da Volterra, a painter who had studied with Michelangelo, is given the job. He paints drapery over the genitals, loincloths, robes, enough to make the figures decent. He's mocked as Il Braghettone, the underwear maker, but the work is done. The fresco is censored. Most of the added drapery is removed during restoration in the 1990s. We can see now what Michelangelo painted, but the fact that it was covered tells us something. The church was afraid of it. The power of the image was too much. The bodies were too real. The judgment was too fierce. They couldn't let it stand unchallenged. While he paints the Last Judgment, Michelangelo's personal life changes in ways he never expected. At 60, he falls in love. Vittoria Colonna is a poet, a widow, a member of the Roman aristocracy. She's deeply religious, connected to the reform movement within the church. She writes sonnets about divine love. She hosts gatherings where theology and literature mix. They meet in the late 1530s. The exact circumstances are unclear, but they become close quickly. They exchange poems, they discuss scripture, they debate theology. Michelangelo writes sonnets to her. Love sonnets, spiritual sonnets, sonnets that blur the line between earthly and divine love. She's the first woman he's ever been close to, not romantically in the physical sense. The relationship seems to be platonic, but it's intense. She understands him. She sees past the reputation. She treats him as an equal, not as a genius to be managed, not as a servant to be commanded, as a person. he draws for her. Religious subjects, a Pieta, a crucifixion. Drawings he gives as gifts. These aren't preparatory sketches for larger works. They're finished pieces, complete in themselves, highly detailed, made with care, made with love. Vittoria dies in 1547. Michelangelo is devastated. He writes that he regrets not kissing her face before she died the way he kissed her hand. The grief is real. It's the loss of the one person who saw him completely. After her death, he writes darker poems about age, about death, about the body failing, about art being insufficient, about the futility of trying to reach God through human effort. The architecture work intensifies. Pope Paul III, the same pope who commissioned the Last Judgment, now wants Michelangelo to redesign the centre of Christian power itself. The Campidoglio, the Capitoline Hill, the symbolic heart of Rome since ancient times. Michelangelo is 70. Most architects would consider this their final commission. For him, it's just another beginning. The design is radical. He doesn't restore what was there. He creates something entirely new. A trapezoidal piazza, buildings that form a unified composition, a geometric pattern on the ground, an equestrian statue of Marcus Aurelius at the centre. The buildings converge towards St. Peter's in the distance. It's urban planning as sculpture. Space itself becomes the medium. The work takes decades. He won't live to see it completed, but the plans are clear, detailed, specific. Future architects will follow them. The Campidoglio becomes one of the most influential urban spaces in Europe. Every city square designed after it borrows something from Michelangelo's vision. Then comes the biggest commission of all, St. Peter's Basilica, the church that houses the tomb of the first pope, the spiritual centre of Catholicism. It's been under construction for decades. Multiple architects have worked on it. Bramante started it. Raphael took over. Then others, each changed the design. The project has stalled. The building is a mess, half-finished, incoherent. In 1546, Paul III appoints Michelangelo chief architect. He's 71. He doesn't want the job. He's old, he's tired. He wants to work on his own projects. The Pope insists. Michelangelo accepts on one condition. He'll take no salary. He'll do it for God alone. This isn't humility, it's control. If he's not paid, he can't be fired. He can't be overruled by patrons complaining about cost. He strips away the previous additions. He returns to Bramante's original concept, but simplifies it. A Greek cross plan. 4 equal arms, massive piers to support the dome. Everything drives toward that dome. The dome that doesn't yet exist. The dome that becomes his obsession. The problem is structural. How do you build a dome that size? Larger than the Pantheon. Larger than Brunelleschi's dome in Florence. The weight is enormous. The thrust is tremendous. If the calculations are wrong, the whole thing collapses. Michelangelo studies ancient Roman engineering. He examines the Pantheon. He looks at Brunelleschi's solution in Florence. He makes drawings, models. He tests ideas. The design he creates is double-shelled. An inner dome that you see from inside. An outer dome that you see from outside. The space between them contains the structure. Ribs that carry the weight. Chains that contain the thrust. It's engineering disguised as art. Or art that requires engineering. He'll never see it built. The dome isn't completed until 24 years after his death. But the design is his. The proportions are his. The profile that dominates the Roman skyline is his vision made permanent. While directing construction, he continues sculpting, but the work changes. The pietas he carves now aren't for patrons, they're for himself. Explorations of grief, of mortality, of the body's failure. The Florence Pieta, started around 1547, shows 4 figures, Christ being taken down from the cross, Mary Magdalene on the left, the Virgin Mary on the right, and behind Christ, supporting him, a hooded figure. Nicodemus, the face is a self-portrait. Michelangelo has inserted himself into the scene, not as witness but as participant. He's the one holding Christ's broken body. The carving goes wrong, a flaw in the marble, or perhaps just frustration. Michelangelo attacks the statue. He breaks Christ's left leg. He smashes part of the arm. He tries to destroy it. A servant stops him, takes the pieces. Later, another sculptor, Tiberio Calcagni, attempts repairs, but the damage remains visible. The statue is broken, incomplete. Michelangelo abandons it. He starts another Pieta, then another, the Palestrina Pieta, the Rondanini Pieta, each one more abstract, less finished. The body's less defined, the stone less conquered. It's as if he's moving backward, from mastery towards something rawer, more essential. The Rondanini Pieta is the last. He works on it until days before his death. Christ and Mary are almost merged, two figures becoming one. The forms are elongated, simplified. The surface is rough, unpolished. The chisel marks are visible. Nothing is hidden. This isn't the idealized beauty of the David. This is suffering. This is age. This is the body failing. His body is failing. He's in his 80s. He still works every day, still climbs scaffolding, still carves marble, but it's harder. The hands that once moved with such certainty now shake. The eyes that could see every detail now strain in dim light. He writes poems about being old, about being tired, about wanting rest. His friendship with Tommaso dei Cavalieri continues. They've known each other for 30 years. Tommaso is now middle-aged, a respected figure in Roman society. But he still visits Michelangelo, still sits with him, still listens. Michelangelo gives him drawings, writes him letters. The love is still there, transformed by time, but not diminished. The sonnets he writes now are different, less passionate, more philosophical. They're about duration, about loyalty, about what remains when beauty fades. He writes about the soul outlasting the body, about divine love being the only love that doesn't end. In his final years, Michelangelo's household is small. A few servants, Francesco Amadori, called Urbino, who has served him for decades. Urbino's death in 1555 devastates him. He writes to his nephew that he's left half dead, that Urbino's loyalty was worth more than gold. He's outlived almost everyone he cared about. His nephew, Leonardo, lives in Florence. They correspond regularly. Michelangelo sends money, gives advice, tells Leonardo to marry, to have children, to continue the family line. He's concerned with legacy, not artistic legacy, that's secure. Family legacy, the Buonarroti name. He wants it to continue. Leonardo visits occasionally, brings news from Florence, brings gifts. Michelangelo complains about the gifts, says he doesn't need anything, but he keeps them. He's still difficult, still demanding, still impossible to satisfy. Age hasn't softened him much. The work on St. Peter's continues. Every week he visits the site, checks the construction, makes adjustments, argues with contractors, argues with church officials. They want changes, cheaper solutions, faster timelines. He refuses. The design must be followed. The quality must be maintained. If they won't do it right, find another architect. They don't find another architect, they need him. Only he has the vision. Only he can see the whole. The dome exists in his mind complete and perfect. He's trying to transfer it from imagination into stone before time runs out. His drawings for the dome become more detailed. Cross-sections, elevations, structural diagrams. He's not just designing the form, he's solving the engineering. Every rib must align, every chain must hold. The mathematics must work. Beauty and structure are inseparable. By 1563, he's 88. He can barely walk. His hands are crippled with arthritis, but he still carves, still works on the Rondanini Pieta. The chisel is light. The strokes are shallow. He's not forcing the marble anymore. He's coaxing it. suggesting forms rather than defining them. February 1564 is cold. Michelangelo catches a chill. He refuses to stay in bed. He goes out in the rain. He works. He tells friends he finds relief only in working. If he stops, he'll die, so he doesn't stop. His assistants beg him to rest. He ignores them. He's lived this long by working. He'll die working. On February 12th, he collapses. They put him to bed. Call physicians. Send word to Leonardo in Florence. Michelangelo is conscious but weak. He dictates his will. It's simple. I leave my soul to God, my body to the earth, my property to my nearest relatives. Tommaso dei Cavalieri Comes sits with him, holds his hand. After 32 years of friendship, he's there at the end. Daniele da Volterra comes, the painter who covered the Last Judgment's nudity. He's forgiven. Others come. The room fills with people who owe him everything. Michelangelo dies on February 18th, 1564, at sunset. He's 88 years old. He's been the most famous artist in the world for 60 years. He's outlived everyone who mattered. Popes, rivals, friends. He dies in Rome, in a modest house, surrounded by servants and colleagues, but essentially alone. The funeral is immediate, small. They bury him in the church of Santi Apostoli. The plan is temporary. Everyone knows Florence will want him back. Duke Cosimo I de' Medici has already made it clear. Michelangelo belongs to Florence. His body must return. Leonardo arranges everything. He bribes officials, hires men to steal the body. They take it at night, pack it in a bale of cloth, ship it to Florence disguised as merchandise. When it arrives, the whole city turns out. This is their son, their genius, their proof that Florence breeds greatness. The funeral procession takes hours. Thousands line the streets. Artists carry the coffin. Vasari organises the ceremony. He's writing the biography already. The life of Michelangelo, the last chapter of his great work on the lives of artists. The culmination of Italian genius. They bury him in Santa Croce, the church where Dante is buried, where Machiavelli is buried, where the great Florentines rest. His tomb is marked with a monument designed by Vasari. 3 figures representing painting, sculpture, and architecture grieve over his bust. The inscription is simple. His name, his deities, nothing else is needed. Rome protests. He died in Rome. He worked in Rome for decades. The Sistine Chapel is in Rome. St. Peter's is in Rome. He should stay in Rome. Florence doesn't care. He was born Florentine. He dies Florentine. The body stays. The estate is complicated. Property in Florence, property in Rome, debts, credits, artworks, drawings, letters. Leonardo inherits most of it. He's careful. He knows the value, not just monetary, historical. These are relics now. Everything Michelangelo touched has meaning. The unfinished sculptures remain unfinished. The Florence Pieta with its broken leg, the Rondinini Pieta with its rough surfaces, the captives still trapped in marble. They're perfect as they are. Completion would diminish them. The struggle is the point. The effort is the meaning. The dome of St. Peter's is completed in 1590, 26 years after Michelangelo's death. Giacomo della Porta, the architect who finishes it, follows the design exactly. The proportions, the profile, the structural system. When it's done, it's exactly what Michelangelo envisioned. You can see it from everywhere in Rome. It dominates, it anchors the city. It's been there so long now that imagining Rome without it is impossible. The Last Judgment remains. Still shocking, still powerful, still dividing opinion. Some call it the greatest painting ever made. Others call it a travesty. Nobody calls it boring. Millions have stood beneath it, stared up at that wall of bodies, felt small, felt judged, felt something they can't quite name. The David stands in Florence. They moved it indoors in 1873, protecting it from weather, from pollution, from time. The academia was built around it. The statue has its own room, its own light. Tourists line up for hours to see it. They walk through galleries of other art barely looking. Then they enter that room and stop, because nothing prepares you. Not photographs, not descriptions, not expectations. The scale, the presence, the fact that it's real, that someone made this, that human hands shaped this from stone. It breaks something open. The influence spreads, like water finding cracks in stone. Every artist who comes after must contend with what Michelangelo did. They can't ignore it. They can't escape it. The bar is set. The standard is established. Everything that follows is measured against his work. The Baroque masters study him obsessively. Bernini looks at the Pietà and learns how marble can seem soft. Caravaggio stares at the Sistine ceiling and understands how bodies can carry divine weight. Rubens copies the Battle of Cassina cartoon before it's lost. These aren't casual glances. These are pilgrimages, lessons, transmissions of knowledge across time. The academies that form across Europe make Michelangelo required study. His drawings become teaching tools. Students copy them, learn anatomy from them, understand proportion, movement, expression, the way a body twists, the way weight shifts, the way emotion registers in muscle and bone. But influence isn't just admiration, it's also burden. How do you make sculpture after the David? How do you paint ceilings after the Sistine? How do you design buildings after St. Peter's? The anxiety is real. The shadow is long. Some artists break under it. Others find ways around it. A few transcend it. The mannerist twist his forms, elongate them, make them strange. They take his intensity and push it further. Sometimes it works, often it doesn't. But they're trying to find space, room to breathe, a way to be great without simply being Michelangelo again. The critics argue for centuries. What was he? Sculptor first, painter, architect, poet? The question misses the point. He was all of them because he refused to separate them. Stone and paint and structure and language, all expressions of the same vision, all attempts to manifest the same truth. The Romantic era claims him as their own. They see the suffering, the isolation, the genius tortured by his own standards. Byron writes about him. Wordsworth. They make him a symbol of the artist as hero, the solitary creator wrestling with forces larger than himself. The Victorians study him differently. They measure, analyse, try to understand the technical achievements. How did he carve that? What tools did he use? What was his process? They want formulas, methods, something that can be taught. They don't find them. The technique can be learned. The vision can't. The 20th century rediscovers him again. The modernists see something else, not the Renaissance master, not the tortured genius, but the man who understood that form itself carries meaning. That material has its own truth, that sometimes leaving something unfinished is the only honest choice. Henry Moore looks at the captives and sees everything he'll spend his life exploring. The relationship between figure and stone, the idea that sculpture isn't about imposing form on material, but revealing what's already there. The notion that struggle can be beautiful. The drawings survive, hundreds of them. Studies for projects, quick sketches, detailed anatomical investigations, gift drawings made for friends. Each one a window into how he thought, how he worked, how he saw. They're worth fortunes now. Museums guard them carefully. Control the light, the humidity, the handling. Because paper is fragile, ink fades, time destroys, but also because these sheets hold something irreplaceable. Direct contact with his mind. No intermediary, no interpretation. Just the line moving across the page as he thought through a problem. The letters reveal different things, his complaints, his fears, his business sense, his relationships. He's more human in them, less mythic. He worries about money, about his family, about his reputation. He can be petty, demanding, difficult. He's not always noble, not always kind. But the work remains transcendent. That's the paradox. The man was flawed. The art is not. Or perhaps the art contains the flaws, and that's what makes it powerful. The broken Pietà, the unfinished captives, the dark vision of the Last Judgment. These aren't perfect objects, they're honest ones. The Sistine Chapel requires constant maintenance. Soot from candles damaged it for centuries. Modern pollution eats at the surface. In the 1980s, they cleaned it, removed layers of dirt and grime. What emerged shocked everyone. The colours were bright, vibrant, shocking. For 400 years, everyone had seen the ceiling as dark and sombre. Turned out that was just dirt. Underneath, Michelangelo had used brilliant blues, oranges, greens. The cleaning was controversial. Some said it removed patina, history, that the dirt was part of the work now. Others said it restored truth, showed what Michelangelo actually painted. Both were probably right. The debate continues. Does the work belong to the artist or to time? Is the authentic version the one he created or the one we inherited? When does alteration become damage? And when does it become history? The physical sites become pilgrimage destinations. Rome, Florence, the Vatican. Millions travel there specifically to see what he made. They stand in lines, pay entrance fees, shuffle through crowds, all to spend a few minutes in the presence of these objects. What are they seeking? Beauty, certainly, history, culture, but also something harder to name. Evidence, maybe, proof that humans can do this, that someone once lived who could take stone and make it breathe, take paint and make it eternal, take space and make it sacred. The copies multiply, plaster casts of the David, prints of the Sistine ceiling, photographs, digital reproductions. The images saturate culture. You can see the creation of Adam on coffee mugs, t-shirts, dorm room posters. The most sacred becomes the most commercial. Does this diminish the original? Does familiarity breed contempt? Or does it do the opposite? Does the ubiquity of the image create desire for the real thing? Does the poster on the wall make someone buy a plane ticket to Rome? The scholars produce libraries of analysis, art historians, biographers, critics. They examine every detail, every brushstroke, every chisel mark. They construct timelines, attribute works, debate authenticity, interpret meaning. The academic industry around Michelangelo is massive. Careers are built on understanding him. But understanding isn't the same as knowing. You can read every book written about the Sistine Chapel, memorize every figure, learn every symbolic reference, and still not be prepared for standing underneath it, for the physical reality of it, for what it does to your body to crane your neck back and see that much achieved human effort. The unfinished works haunt us differently. The Florence Pietà with its broken leg, the Rondanini Pietà still being carved when he died. The captives half emerged from stone. They show the process, the struggle, the fact that even for him it wasn't easy. Even for him there was doubt, revision, failure. Maybe that's their power, their proof that greatness isn't given. It's fought for, inch by inch, blow by blow. And sometimes you don't win. Sometimes the stone defeats you. Sometimes you run out of time. Sometimes you break something that can't be fixed. The architectural influence proves most lasting. Every dome built after St. Peter's is in conversation with it. Every grand civic building, every monument. The vocabulary he established becomes the language of power, of authority, of permanence. Nations building themselves in the 18th and 19th centuries look to Michelangelo. The US Capitol Dome, the Pantheon in Paris, St. Paul's in London. They're all descendants, all children of what he figured out. How to make stone float, how to make space soar, how to make a building feel inevitable. The poems are mostly forgotten. A few scholars read them, specialists. The Italian is archaic now. The references obscure, the form unfashionable, but they mattered to him. Maybe more than anything else, the most private expression, the most direct. No patron, no commission, no public. Just him trying to shape language the way he shaped everything else. Some are love poems, passionate, desperate, full of longing. Some are religious, meditations on mortality, sin, redemption. Some are bitter, angry at time, at the body's failure, at opportunities missed. They're not great poetry, not by the standards of Dante or Petrarch, but they're honest, raw. They show a man trying to use another medium, failing a little, succeeding enough, still reaching. The face becomes iconic. That broken nose, those deep eyes, the stern expression. We know what he looked like better than almost any figure from his era, because people painted him, sculpted him, drew him. He was famous enough that his appearance mattered. His features became data, but we don't really know him, not the interior man, not the person who woke up each morning and decided to continue, to climb the scaffolding again, to lift the chisel, to argue with the Pope, to outlive everyone. The loneliness must have been crushing. Watching friends die, rivals die, patrons die, students die, lovers die. Everyone he started with gone, and him still working, still trying, still not satisfied. He lived too long in some ways, saw his own legacy calcify, became a monument while still breathing. That's a strange fate, to be historic while still trying to make history, to be studied while still studying, to be the standard while still trying to exceed it. The Counter-Reformation almost destroyed his legacy. The Council of Trent decided religious art had become too sensual, too pagan, too concerned with the body and not enough with the soul. They wanted to paint clothes over the Last Judgment, cover the nudity, make it decent. They did cover some. Daniele da Volterra painted drapery over the most offensive figures. They called him the breeches maker afterward, a career defined by covering another man's work, a reputation built on shame. But they couldn't erase it, couldn't undo it. The power was too great, the execution too perfect. Even the prudes recognized genius when they saw it. They compromised, they covered, but they preserved. That tension never resolved. The church that commissioned the work then spent centuries uncomfortable with what it got. Too much flesh, too much humanity, too much acknowledgement that bodies matter, that physical beauty is real, that the divine might express itself through the material. This is the central argument, the core of what Michelangelo insisted on. The body isn't separate from the soul. The material isn't separate from the spiritual. Beauty isn't decoration, it's truth. The Neoplatonists taught him this, Ficino's circle in his youth, the idea that physical beauty is a reflection of divine beauty, that loving a beautiful body is a step toward loving God, that art which captures this beauty is therefore holy work. The church never fully accepted it. They wanted hierarchy, spirit over flesh, heaven over earth, but Michelangelo made them see, made them feel, made them admit that sometimes the body tells the truth, the theology can't. The influence on non-Western art is harder to trace but real. When Japan opened to the West in the 19th century, artists encountered Michelangelo. Some rejected it, too different, too focused on the individual body, but others found something, a different way to think about form, about expression, about what art could do. Chinese artists studying in Europe brought back photographs, prints, ideas. The Cultural Revolution later tried to erase Western influence. But knowledge doesn't disappear that easily. It goes underground, waits, returns. Now Michelangelo is global, his work reproduced everywhere, studied everywhere, claimed by everyone. He belongs to Florence still, but also to Rome, to Italy, to Europe, to the West, to humanity. That's probably right. He was provincial in his life, never left Italy, barely left central Italy, but his mind was universal. His questions were universal. How do you make something that lasts? How do you tell the truth? How do you face death without flinching? These aren't Italian questions, they're human questions. and the answers he gave in stone and paint and structure speak across every boundary we've invented. The last thing to understand is the obsession. Why he couldn't stop. Why he worked until the day he died. Why unfinished work surrounded him at the end. It wasn't about achievement. He'd achieved everything. Fame, wealth, recognition, legacy, all secured before he was 50. It was about the gap, the distance between what he saw in his mind and what he could make real. That gap never closed, never could close. The vision was always greater than the execution. The idea always exceeded the object. This drove him mad. This kept him alive. Because as long as the gap existed, there was work to do. As long as perfection remained unreachable, reaching mattered. The struggle itself became the meaning. He understood something most artists never grasp. The work is never finished. You just stop working on it. Sometimes because it's done enough. More often because you're out of time, out of strength, out of life. The Rondanini Pietà proves this. His final sculpture started when he was 75. Worked on it for the last 6 years of his life. Still working on it days before he died. It's barely coherent. Christ's body emerging from rough stone. Mary merged with him. Two figures becoming one, or one figure splitting into two. The proportions are wrong. The anatomy impossible. The surface unfinished. It's his greatest work. Not technically. The David is more perfect. The Moses more powerful. But the Rondanini Pietà is more true. It shows exactly what he understood at the end. That form emerges from formlessness, that the struggle to create never ends, that the stone resists until your last breath. He kept changing it, cutting away, starting over, at 75, at 80, at 88. Still trying to find the right form, still convinced he hadn't reached it, still believing one more session, one more cut, one more day would get him closer. It didn't. It couldn't. But the trying mattered more than the arriving. His death came quietly. February 18th, 1564. He'd been ill for weeks. Fever, weakness. His mind still sharp, still working, still planning. Daniele da Volterra was there. Tommaso de Cavalieri. The faithful few. He gave instructions about unfinished work, made arrangements, received last rites. Then he let go. 88 years old, 65 of them spent working. Countless sculptures, paintings, buildings, poems, letters, a mountain of creation. And at the end, surrounded by fragments, by works in progress, by visions unrealised. Rome claimed the body at first. He'd lived there 40 years, died there. They wanted him buried in the Pantheon, among the greats, but Florence wouldn't allow it. He was theirs, born there, trained there, rose to fame there. They sent his nephew, snuck the body out at night, wrapped in canvas, hidden in a merchant's wagon, smuggled across the border like contraband. Florence received him as a hero. Crowds lined the streets, artists and apprentices, officials and citizens. The funeral at San Lorenzo was massive. Vasari organised it, made it spectacle, made it statement. The greatest artist of the age returned home. Buried with honours, laid to rest in Santa Croce, among the Florentine immortals. The tomb is absurd, over-decorated, 3 figures representing sculpture, painting, architecture, all mourning, all theatrical, everything Michelangelo would have hated. He wanted simplicity. They gave him Baroque excess. But that's how it works. The living build monuments to themselves, use the dead as mirrors. The tomb says more about Florence than about Michelangelo. What he left behind was chaos, unfinished sculptures everywhere, works in progress, abandoned experiments, the slaves still trapped in marble, the Rondanini Pietà barely begun or nearly complete, depending how you see it. Drawings, sketches, notes for poems, letters discussing projects that would never happen. His estate was substantial, more than anyone expected. The miser reputation was partly true. He lived simply, spent little, accumulated wealth through commissions, through smart investments, through never-stopping work. His family inherited money, property, a legacy of respectability purchased with genius. But the real inheritance was the work. Everything he'd made, everything he'd proven possible, every boundary he'd pushed, every convention he'd shattered. That's what the next generation received, and they weren't ready for it. Artists tried to copy him. Failed. You can't copy Michelangelo. His solutions were personal, specific to his vision, his body, his obsessions. What worked for him destroyed others. The Mannerists came closest. They took his exaggerations, his elongations, his impossible poses, made them style instead of necessity, made them decoration, missed the point entirely. The academics codified him, turned him into rules. Study Michelangelo. Learn anatomy from Michelangelo. Measure proportions from Michelangelo. As if genius could be systematized. As if you could teach someone to see what he saw. As if following rules would produce miracles. It produced competence, sometimes excellence, never revolution. Because Michelangelo wasn't following rules. He was breaking them. Every decision was a fight. Every form an argument. Every work an attempt to do something that hadn't been done. You can't teach that. You can only recognize it when it appears. The Baroque artists understood better, Bernini especially. He saw that Michelangelo had opened doors, made things possible, not to be copied but to be built upon. Bernini took the drama, the movement, the emotional intensity, made it more, made it different, made it his own. That's proper inheritance, not imitation, evolution. But even Bernini couldn't escape the shadow. Nobody could. Michelangelo had set the standard, defined excellence, created the template against which everything else was measured. For 300 years, Western art existed in his wake, responding to him, reacting against him, unable to ignore him. The 19th century tried to move past him. The Romantics found him too perfect, too controlled. They wanted rawness, emotion, the immediate and unfiltered. But look at Delacroix, at Géricault. The bodies are still Michelangelo's bodies. The drama is still his drama. They added colour, added chaos, but the foundation remained. The moderns finally broke free, or thought they did. Picasso studied him obsessively, then destroyed him, fragmented him, made his perfection impossible, made his coherence obsolete. Cubism was partly a response to Michelangelo, an attempt to find a new way, a way that acknowledged the 20th century, that admitted perfection was a lie. But even Picasso couldn't ignore him. Even in rejection, Michelangelo mattered. The greatest compliment, the deepest influence, to be the thing you must destroy to move forward. What remains now is complicated. We've passed through modernism, through postmodernism, through whatever this is. The certainties Michelangelo had are gone. The belief in beauty, in perfection, in the possibility of truth through form, all questioned, all complicated, all conditional. Yet the work endures, not as answer, as question. Why does it still move us? Why do we still travel to see it? Why does the David still stop people in their tracks? Why does the Sistine Chapel still make grown adults weep? Not because we agree with his worldview. Most don't. Not because we share his faith. Most don't. Not because we believe in Renaissance humanism or Neoplatonic philosophy or the possibility of perfection, because the work is honest, completely honest, about struggle, about limitation, about the gap between vision and reality, about what it costs to make something real, about working until you die and still not finishing. That honesty transcends era, transcends style, transcends belief. It's human, universal, permanent. The tourist industry built around him is obscene. Lines around blocks, timed tickets, crowds pressing forward, guards shouting no photos, commerce everywhere. Michelangelo merchandise, Michelangelo kitsch, his face on everything, his David reproduced in every size, every material, every level of taste. He'd hate it. He hated crowds when alive, hated publicity, hated being treated as spectacle, would have despised being turned into brand, into product, into industry. But this is what happens, what always happens. The work outlives intention, becomes public property, gets used in ways the maker never imagined, never wanted, can't prevent. And maybe that's right. Maybe art belongs to everyone once it's made. Maybe the artist's wishes don't matter after death. Maybe meaning is whatever people find, whatever moves them, whatever they carry away. Dangerous thinking opens the door to anything, to misuse, misinterpretation, appropriation. But the alternative is worse. Frozen meaning, fixed interpretation, art as museum piece, dead thing, object of study but not experience. Better to let it live, let it change, let each generation find something different. Even if that means chaos, even if that means loss, even if that means the crowds and the commerce and the kitsch, the academic study continues. New discoveries, new techniques, new analyses. X-rays revealing underdrawings, chemical analysis of paint, computer modelling of structures. Each generation thinking it will finally understand him, finally explain him, finally solve him. They won't, can't. He's too large, too complex, too deliberately obscure. He hid himself in the work, and in the hiding revealed himself completely, but not in ways that analysis can capture, not in ways that scholarship can contain. You understand Michelangelo by standing in front of the work, by letting it work on you, by feeling what it makes you feel without immediately explaining it away. The academics hate this, want proof, want argument, want evidence and citation, and peer review. But art doesn't work that way. Never did, never will. It bypasses argument, goes straight to the body. The gut, the nervous system, makes you feel before you think, and thinking about it after doesn't capture what happened during. That's why his work survives, why it matters, why we keep returning, not because we understand it, because we don't. Because it remains mysterious, powerful, immediate, because it still does what it was meant to do. Moves us, changes us, makes us see. The final assessment is impossible. Too much work, too much influence, too much complexity. Any judgment will be partial, incomplete, distorted by distance and by proximity, by knowing too much and not enough. But attempt it anyway, risk it. Say the obvious thing that still needs saying. Michelangelo was the greatest sculptor who ever lived. Not the only great one, not the only important one, but the greatest. The most technically accomplished, the most ambitious, the most consistently excellent across the longest career. The David alone would be enough. The Pietà alone would be enough. The Moses, the Sistine Chapel ceiling, the Medici tombs. Any one of them would secure immortality. He made them all. Made them despite opposition, despite limitation, despite himself. He proved what's possible, what the human hand can do, what the human mind can envision, what discipline and obsession and refusal to compromise can achieve. He set a standard that still stands, that probably always will stand, because he pushed as far as anyone can push, found the limits, exceeded them, then found new limits beyond those. The cost was enormous. Personal happiness, relationships, peace, any kind of normal life. He sacrificed everything, chose work over love, over family, over comfort, over joy, made himself miserable in service to something larger, something that would outlast him. Was it worth it? Impossible to say. Not our judgment to make. He made his choice, lived with it, died with it, left us everything, kept nothing for himself except the satisfaction of having done it, having made it, having refused every compromise. That's the model, the example, The lesson, if there is one. Not the technique, not the style, not the specific solutions to specific problems. The commitment, the seriousness, the willingness to give everything to the work, to make it matter more than you matter, to let it consume you because consumption is the price of creation. Most can't do it. Most shouldn't do it. There are other ways to live, better ways probably, happier ways certainly. But for those who must, who can't not, who find themselves driven by something larger than self-preservation, Michelangelo shows what's possible and what it costs, and that the cost might be worth paying. He died at 88, worked until 88, never stopped, never rested, never decided he'd done enough, kept pushing, kept struggling, kept trying to close the gap between vision and reality. Failed. Had to fail. The gap can't be closed, but the trying made him immortal, made him matter, made him Michelangelo. That's what endures, not the work alone. The work combined with the life, the proof that obsession can produce miracles, that discipline can achieve the impossible, that one person, flawed and difficult and impossible, can change what humanity thinks is possible. 5 centuries later, we're still learning from him, still measuring ourselves against him, still trying to understand how he did it, how he saw it, how he made it real. We won't solve him, but we'll keep trying, keep returning, keep standing in front of the work and feeling something we can't name, something old, something permanent, something true. That's enough, that's everything. That's what art is for. The David still stands in Florence, not where he put it. They moved it indoors, protected it from weather, from pollution, from the slow erosion that destroys everything eventually. But it stands. 13 feet of marble carved from a damaged block nobody else wanted. The face turned left, the eyes focused, the body coiled, ready. People cry when they see it. Not everyone, but enough. They stand in that room, the academia built around it, and something breaks open. Maybe it's beauty, maybe it's recognition, maybe it's proof that humans can do this, can take stone and make it breathe, can see something impossible and make it real. The Sistine ceiling cracks, slowly, inevitably. Restorers monitor it constantly. Humidity, temperature, vibration from the crowds below. Every variable measured, every threat assessed. Because it's fragile now. 500 years of existence takes its toll. Paint flakes, plaster shifts. The structure underneath settles and the surface above fractures. They'll preserve it as long as possible, use every technique, every technology, by decades, maybe centuries, but eventually it will fail. Everything does. The chapel will outlast us, probably outlast our children, but not forever. Nothing is forever except the idea, the fact that it existed, that someone made it. St. Peter's Dome still dominates Rome. You can see it from everywhere, from the Janiculum Hill, from the Pincio, from the Tiber bridges. It rises above everything, announces itself, says this matters, this endures. 26 years after his death, they finished it exactly as he planned. The proportions he calculated, the profile he drew, the engineering he solved. Millions have stood beneath it, looked up into that vast space, felt small, felt lifted, felt something they came there to feel, or something they didn't expect. The building works, does what it was meant to do, creates awe, manufactures transcendence, makes stone speak. The unfinished sculptures tell different truths. The captives still trapped. The Rondanini Pietà still rough. The Florence Pietà still broken. They show the struggle, the fact that even genius fails. Even mastery has limits. Even Michelangelo couldn't finish everything he started. We need those failures, need to see them, need proof that the gap exists for everyone. That vision exceeds execution always, that the work continues until you die, and then it stops wherever you stopped. No neat endings, no final statements. Just the last thing you were working on when time ran out. His face stares from portraits, that broken nose, those deep eyes, the stern expression that never softens. We know what he looked like better than we know most historical figures, because people painted him, studied him, recorded him, made him immortal in multiple forms. But we don't know him, not really. The interior man remains hidden. What he thought lying awake at night, what he feared, what he wanted that he didn't get. The letters tell us some. The poems tell us more. But mostly we have the work. And the work is enough, has to be enough. It's what he left, what he chose to leave, what he decided mattered. The influence spreads in ways he never imagined. Digital reproductions, virtual reality tours, 3D scans accurate to microns, the creation of Adam as screensaver, as meme, as cultural shorthand for creativity itself. 2 hands reaching, fingers almost touching. Everyone knows it. Most don't know where it's from, don't know who made it, don't know the story. Does that matter? Does the context matter if the image works, if it still moves people, if it still communicates something essential about being human? Maybe not. Maybe art transcends origin, becomes bigger than maker, belongs to everyone who sees it and finds meaning. The tomb in Santa Croce gets visited, not as much as the David, not as much as the Sistine Chapel, but enough. People come, pay respects, leave flowers sometimes, stand there thinking about mortality, about legacy, about what remains when everything else is gone. He wanted simplicity. They gave him Baroque theatre, 3 figures grieving, excessive decoration, everything wrong. But maybe that's appropriate too. Maybe the gap between what he wanted and what he got extends beyond death. Maybe even his burial had to be unfinished, imperfect, subject to others' vision rather than his own. The work remains the monument, not the tomb, not the statues others made of him, not the biographies, not the analysis, the work itself, the things he made with his hands, the stone he cut, the paint he applied, the spaces he designed. Those are what matter. Those are what last. 500 years later, we're still learning from him, still trying to understand how he did it, still standing in front of what he made and feeling something we can't articulate, something old, something permanent, something that bridges centuries and says this is what humans can do, this is what's possible, this is what one person can achieve if they refuse to stop, refuse to compromise, refuse to accept that good enough is enough. The lesson isn't technique, isn't style, isn't the specific solutions to specific problems. It's the commitment, the seriousness, the willingness to sacrifice everything else, to make the work matter more than comfort, more than happiness, more than life itself. Most can't do it. Most shouldn't try. There are better ways to live, healthier ways, happier ways, ways that don't require destroying yourself in service to vision, ways that allow for love, for family, for peace, for ordinary human contentment. But for those who must, who find themselves driven by something larger than self-preservation, who can't silence the voice that says, make this, make it perfect, make it matter. For them, Michelangelo shows what's possible, shows the cost, shows that the cost might be worth paying. He died working, still trying, still reaching, still convinced that one more cut, one more session, one more day would get him closer. It wouldn't have, couldn't have. The gap never closes. The vision always exceeds the execution. That's the nature of making, the burden of seeing. But the trying matters more than the arriving. The struggle means more than the solution. The work continues until it stops, and where it stops becomes the end, whether you meant it to be or not. That's all any artist gets, the time they have, the strength they possess, the vision they can realize before everything runs out. Michelangelo got 88 years, 65 of them spent working, countless sculptures, paintings, buildings, poems, a mountain of creation, and at the end, still not finished, still not satisfied, still seeing more than he could make real. That's the tragedy. That's the triumph. That's the proof that he never stopped being who he was, never accepted less than everything, never made peace with limitation. The work speaks for itself now. Doesn't need defense, doesn't need explanation. You stand in front of it and it works or it doesn't. Moves you or leaves you cold, changes how you see or confirms what you already knew. That's between you and the stone, you and the paint, you and the space he created. But if you let it work, if you give it time, if you look without deciding what you'll see before you see it, then maybe you feel what he meant you to feel, what he put there deliberately, or accidentally, or inevitably. The human thing. The truth about bodies, about beauty, about the gap between what we see in our minds and what we can make real with our hands. He closed that gap further than anyone else. That's the achievement. That's the legacy. Not that he succeeded completely. Nobody does. But that he got closer, pushed harder, refused to stop pushing until his body gave out, and he had no choice. The starry heavens above, the moral law within, those were the poles of his world, the external and the internal, the cosmic and the human. He spent his life trying to connect them, to show that the same principles govern both, that beauty isn't arbitrary, that truth isn't relative, that form matters because form is meaning. We don't believe that anymore, most of us. We've moved past those certainties, questioned those assumptions, complicated those simplicities, and maybe that's progress, maybe that's necessary. Maybe the world he believed in never existed except in his mind. But the work remains, stands as evidence, says this mattered to someone. This was worth a life. This is what total commitment looks like. Total dedication, total refusal to accept that good enough is enough. And whether we share his beliefs or not, whether we accept his vision or not, the work still does what work should do, still speaks, still moves, still proves that one person can change what everyone thinks is possible. That's enough? That's everything? That's what survives when the man is gone. The context is forgotten. The original meaning is lost. The work itself, the thing made, the permanent made from the temporary, the eternal carved from the mortal, stone and paint and space arranged by human hands into something that outlasts the hands that made it, outlasts the eyes that first saw it, outlasts the world it was made for. Michelangelo died in Rome, was buried in Florence, but lives everywhere his work exists, in museums, in churches, in books, in memory, in the standard against which excellence is still measured, in the proof that humans can do this, can see the impossible and make it real, can work until they die and leave behind something that never dies. That's the gift. That's the inheritance, not the technique, not the style, not the specific achievements, the example, the model, the proof. One person, flawed and difficult and impossible, who refused to stop, who gave everything, who made it matter more than anything else, who showed us what we're capable of if we're willing to pay the price. The price was everything. The reward is immortality, not for him. He's gone, dust like everyone, but for the work, for what he made, for what he proved possible. That lives, that endures. That will outlast all of us. Outlast our children. Outlast our civilization, probably. Because stone lasts, paint lasts, structure lasts. And the truth they contain, the human truth about struggle and beauty, and the gap between vision and reality, that truth is permanent. Not because it's carved in marble, because it's carved in us, in how we see, in what we value, in what we recognize as great when we encounter it. Michelangelo carved that, made it visible, made it undeniable. And 500 years later, we're still standing in front of what he made, still feeling what he meant us to feel, still learning what he meant us to learn. That's success. That's victory. That's everything an artist can hope for, and more than most achieve. The work is finished, has been finished for centuries, but also never finished, will never be finished, because each person who encounters it finishes it differently, brings their own eyes, their own experience, their own moment. And in that moment, the work comes alive again, speaks again, matters again. That's the final miracle, not that he made it, that it keeps working, keeps speaking, keeps mattering. Long after everyone who knew him is gone, long after the world he knew is gone, long after the reasons he made it are forgotten, the work remains, does what it does, says what it says, and we stand in front of it and understand, without words, without explanation, without justification, that this matters. This is real. This is what humans can do.